Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. This time I'm going to be recording with you in a bus shelter, well, a rain shelter at the edge of a park in Cleckheaton. Oh, the romance of it all. My wife's car is going for its MOT. So I've just nipped out of the car showroom because I don't know why, but I just felt a little bit, well, self-conscious talking to you, my dear and probably attractive listener, while someone was trying to sell me, well, you know, oh, would you like the undercar brake service check thing done? It's an only extra 40 quid. Shut up, leave me alone. Do what I've already paid for. No, that's what's going on. But that's why I'm here. And that's why you can probably hear a bit of traffic, because I got as far away from the road as I could, but let's face it, that's not going to happen. At least I'm out of the rain. Oh, it's just so romantic and marvellous. Right, to business. No, what we're going to be discussing this time is something gorgeous, something from Big Finish, and something called Peladon. Now, when the UK voted to leave the EU, yes, I'm not going to go on about that much. There was talk at great length of Brexit of Peladon, and the reason is because that the two earlier TV Peladon stories had quite a lot to do with, well, you know when science fiction does a parallel or an allegory for what's going on in real life? Well, some of the big things that was happening in the 70s was that Europe was letting us, the UK, join the European Trading Union, which in Peladon terms was the Federation. There was also miners' strikes and power outages, which was covered again by Doctor Who in the second Peladon story. But of course there was a thriller aspect, and you can only take sci-fi as a parallel so far before it just becomes a documentary and something just a little bit disappointing. So that's what you've got going on with the TV Peladon stories. There's been other ones, and they are mentioned in passing, and there's been a lot of books as well. Main recurring characters in the Peladon stories that aren't people from Peladon are Arcturus, who was basically a wibbly head inside of a travel machine. A particularly rubbishly voiced, particularly rubbish plot thing. It's a sort of thing that you would wheel out if you wanted to prove that Doctor Who monsters weren't great, except for the fact that the Arcturan delegate from the Federation, imagine Star Trek, only a bit crap. Well, they are rubbish. But then you've got Alpha Centauri, a giant green one-eyed hermaphroditic hexapod. Yeah, it's the sort of monster that you would wheel out if you wanted to prove that Doctor Who wasn't very good, except everyone loves the thing, mainly to do with the performance and the voice, the squeakiness. Now obviously with a Peladon box set, what they wanted to do was give a slice of Peladon history. They were aiming for the crown. You know, a slice of royalty through time, but done with Big Finish and done on Peladon, which is fine. It's a brilliant idea. But in the back of your head, the back of my head, I keep going, they're going to be doing the Brexit of Peladon at some point. And they're not. Trust me, they're not. Right? Now, the government in this country is kind of hoping that the UK citizens are just going to get bored of Brexit and hope that it all goes away and we ignore it so that they can get on with their own little grubby money laundering things. Sorry, I said I wouldn't do that, but that's not covered here. What is covered here is an ongoing history, because the one thing that goes through Peladon's history is trisilicate mining. And trisilicate mining is, of course, mineral wealth, which will, of course, run out. That's what's happened to the UK. That's why we outsource everything. That's why we become a service economy. This is boring. I know. Trust me. It's important, though. The service economy concept kind of doesn't happen on Peladon. They don't mine their history to sell it themselves as, say, a tourist destination, which they could quite easily do if it wasn't for the storms and the constant raining. It is a very stormy world. So the trisilicate is what everyone wants for their warp engines, for their guns, for everything. It's a commodity. Now there's a lot of it in there, but of course it becomes increasingly difficult to mine. Now, with Peladon comes a handful of things. We've got David Troughton in a hockey skirt on the TV. Now, of course, time's passed, and time can pass in this. Like we had the old queen in The Crown, we've got the old king in the first story from Peladon. Because this isn't just one story. This isn't an ongoing thing. This is 4 really excellently faceted stories. I mean, they're not just good, they're really good. You've got the Ordeal of Peladon, Poison of Peladon, the Death of Peladon, the Truth of Peladon, and they're all very different. You've got your Troughton turning up in the story, the first one, the Ordeal, and then you've got River Song turning up in the second one. I know, River Song. Then you've got the Doctor and Mel, that's the 6th Doctor and Mel, appearing in the Death of Peladon. And then you've got the 8th Doctor turning up in the Truth of Peladon, in perhaps one of the best Doctor Who stories of all time, the Truth of Peladon. And I don't say that lightly. It's exquisitely performed, truly gorgeous, and it has Paul McGann singing, which if I'm lucky and I can remember to edit it, I might put in at the end. No, I won't. You have to buy it. You have to get it yourself to listen to Paul McGann sing. Oh yeah, Haroon, Haroon. Oh yeah. Now, there's a few people out there who've been wondering why, how can I put this? God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Venusian Lullaby is used in this. Now, if you watch the TV Peladon stories, the 3rd Doctor, because the TV ones are all 3rd Doctor based, the Doctor, oh sorry, I didn't even mention Agador, did I? Agador, no. Agador is a creature like a bear or a man in a costume that is kind of like the panda is to China. It's an endangered species that some people don't even believe exists. No, that's not like a panda at all, because everyone's seen a panda, but you know what I mean. It's an endangered species, more like a wolf. That's a bit dangerous and a bit scary, but it's also the symbol of the place. A dire wolf, there you go. Right. Oh no, they're not real. Moving on. So, you've got those running as a theme as well, and the Agador's health is an important part. So, rather than mine Brexit for storylines, we've got the ecology, the effects of mining the trisilicate running throughout this entire story. You also have, like all great science fiction, parallels with human behaviour. So you've got, well, you know, greed's a big one, and you've got honour, and you've got that kind of nonsense going on. You haven't, and it all has to default to, you know, love, but that's just standard for fiction of all types. So what have we got storyline wise? Standard synopsis start. Journey to Peladon, member world of the Galactic Federation, and home to intrigue and adventure. Sorry, I'm trying not to do my Clone Wars voiceover and I just can't help it. With each passing generation, the toll of industrial exploitation and deadly political games is taking its toll on the planet. Can the Doctor and his allies guide the course of history towards its hopeful future, or is Peladon's fate in the lap of the gods? The Ordeal of Peladon is by Jonathan Barnes and Robert Valentine, 2 storming authors. When King Peladon hears a holy man with seemingly magical powers and the gift of foresight, he resolves to discover the truth of it all for himself. But his quest to understand the shifting loyalties of his people is one he cannot return unchanged. It's a great story. Always, you know, you're going to get your money's worth out of David at all times, truly. He's just one of the greatest actors in the British Isles. Arguably better than his dad. I mean, I'm not, you know, going to say that Michael's not brilliant, because let's face it, Michael Troughton is so good. David, brilliant. I think that's fair enough. I think if Michael had been given different roles, he also would have been seen by the universe as one of the Britain's greatest actors. David is seen as one of Britain's greatest actors. Every performance has nuance, and of course it has that brilliant voice. Story number 2, The Poison of Peladon by Lizzie Hopley. This one's got River Song in it. Oh, and there might or might not be an absolutely brilliant cameo in the first story that isn't on any box. The Poison of Peladon. River Song has infiltrated the court of the Queen in the guise of the High Priestess. With rumours swirling that Peladon is on the brink of a Republican uprising, River joins forces with her new best friend, Alpha Centauri, to get to the bottom of the mystery. Right, okay. Picture it. This is the pitch. River Song flirting with Alpha Centauri. Oh, and something political goes on. That's your pitch. That's all you need, because you've got us. You've got us as an audience. You've got us listening. You've got us paying attention. That is just great. It just plain works. Next one, The Death of Peladon by Mark Wright. The Sixth Doctor and Mel arrive on Peladon to discover a world on the brink of environmental disaster. Civil war looms, and a dark plot brews in the shadows of the court. Unless they can help avert catastrophe, there seems to be little hope left for one of the Doctor's favourite planets. This feels like it was on TV. I mean, genuinely feels like a Sixth Doctor and Mel TV story, and it's great. It's a cracking little tale. It is brilliant, and it's only really shown up by the fact that it's surrounded by such incredibly strong contenders, because The Truth of Peladon, as I've said, is arguably one of the greatest Doctor Who stories of recent times. Aria, the last of Peladon's great seamstresses, is commissioned to make a great cloak for the latest coronation. She will need a new assistant to complete her work on time, and one appears, the Eighth Doctor, determined to show Arla the truth of Peladon. The delicate threads he's drawing together will change Peladon forever. You see, you've also got, well, a superb cast. It's just plain, well, almost magical. Now, one of the people who just is passing is in this is Jason Watkins, but you've got Mira Sayal, who just manages to call in a superb, heartbreaking performance. But it only works because it's up against Jason as well. If this cast was on TV, you'd be going, oh, Sunday night viewing, that's for me, I'll be watching that. Jason's always great. But Mia Sayal, well, she knocks it out the park. Her and Paul McGann together make an unstoppable and brilliant and emotional team. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're thinking, oh, it's Peladon, I'll just let that one go, you are missing a trick and you're missing something gorgeous. So with that, I'll play you the trailer and you can decide for yourself. So until next time, be seeing you.
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, Peladon.
Welcome, my friends, to Peladon, a proud planet where the eyes of the people are set firmly on the future.
See the prophet. See the divinity. See Skarn, the holy man of Peladon. Another miracle!
It's no miracle, Half-Air.
This promises to make the most interesting report I have written in years.
Our mountain speaks to us, and has done so for centuries.
How lovely! Such a visceral part of Peladon lore.
Ambassador Ribble, we thought you had gone.
Arcturus needs to be sure of all potential threats, Your Majesty.
The temple acolytes will stay with Solana.
Good. I'm not missing my chance to meet Alpha Centauri.
Oh, I'm game if you are.
That's the spirit.
Fight to be heard. Just as Agador once roared from the forest that stood on this wasteland.
Eyes!
You will listen!
This was woven from the webs of the last grey spider.
And now here it shimmers, with the last great seamstress poetry.
You are in a hurry, aren't you?
Always dashing for haberdashery. I'm the Doctor, your new apprentice.
I know where you wish me to go.
I need you to go into the streets below, round up these creatures, find out who's brought them here.
Big Finish. We love stories.
A Villain in Venice, Jane of the Air, Book 1. A steampunk detective and aviatrix and part-time spy. Available now. All profits to the NHS. That was the Tin Dog Podcast. Available on Spotify, iTunes, Acast, Stitcher and wherever good podcasts are found. Get early access to content by subscribing to the Tin Dog Podcast YouTube channel. You can support the show at patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on Twitter at tindogpodcast or email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. All of the things discussed are the intellectual property of others. No infringement is intended. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.